the people of Iran are fighting back against dictatorship, against oppression, against a regime that has crushed their freedoms for over 4 decades. They've been imprisoned. They've been tortured. Many have been executed for daring to speak out, but they are still fighting. And now, the exiled crown prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, is breaking his silence, shedding light on the relentless battle unfolding inside his homeland. What does he have to say? Why does Iran's education system keep failing its people? And why is the Iranian regime hunting down dissidents across the world? Let's break it down. The fight for freedom, why Iranians won't back down. For over 45 years, Iran has been under the grip of the Islamic Republic, ruled by supreme leaders who control every aspect of life: speech, religion, education, and even personal freedoms. But in recent years, something has changed. The Iranian people have reached a breaking point. The 2022 protests after the killing of Mahsa Amini, a young woman arrested by the morality police for allegedly wearing her hijab incorrectly, sparked a movement that refuses to die. Women burned their hijabs in defiance. Students walked out of classes. Even oil workers joined the strikes. Despite brutal crackdowns, the fight for freedom continues. But according to the exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, this fight didn't begin in 2022. It's been building for decades. This regime has failed my people for over 4 decades. They live under constant surveillance. Their freedoms are stripped away. But the Iranian people are no longer afraid. They are ready to take back their country. The Islamic Republic's iron grip is slipping, and they know it. Iran's broken education system, how the regime controls minds. Education should be about empowering minds. In Iran, it's about controlling them. Schools are tools for indoctrination, forcing Islamic ideology onto students instead of fostering critical thinking. Women face systematic discrimination, with certain fields of study restricted or outright banned. Universities are purged of dissidents, where professors and students who speak out against the regime are arrested, tortured, or forced into exile. The Crown Prince believes education reform is the key to dismantling tyranny. They want obedience. But the youth of Iran have woken up. They are rejecting this system, and that terrifies the regime. This is why student protests have become a core part of the resistance. The younger generation refuses to be brainwashed, and in response, the government violently cracks down on universities. Security forces raid dormitories. Students are expelled for speaking against the government. Internet blackouts are imposed to prevent organizing. But despite all of this, Iran's youth are still fighting back. The global manhunt. How Iran hunts dissidents abroad. It's not enough for the Iranian regime to silence opposition inside the country. They want to hunt down dissidents anywhere in the world. We've seen it time and time again. Journalists assassinated or kidnapped in Turkey, France, and the UK. Iranian activists targeted in the US, with FBI warnings of assassination attempts. Protest leaders disappearing in exile. Even in Western democracies, critics of the Iranian regime are not safe. This regime is desperate. They are losing control. That is why they are sending agents abroad, trying to kill anyone who exposes their corruption. Iran's intelligence services work with criminal networks, using fake passports and sleeper cells to track down and eliminate enemies of the regime. This is not just a fight for Iran's future. It's a fight for the freedom of all Iranians, wherever they are. The West's role. Will the world stand with Iran? The Iranian people are fighting alone, but should they be? For years, Western governments have hesitated to take strong action against Iran's leadership. Why? Because of political deals, nuclear negotiations, and economic interests. The exile crown prince is calling on world leaders to stop appeasing the Islamic Republic and start supporting the people. If the West truly stands for democracy, it must stand with the Iranian people, not the regime that oppresses them. So far, responses have been mixed. The US and UK have sanctioned Iranian officials, but still engage in nuclear negotiations with Tehran. The EU condemns human rights abuses, but some nations still maintain economic ties with Iran. Countries like Canada refuse to label Iran's Revolutionary Guard, IRGC, as a terrorist organization, despite clear evidence of global assassinations. The question is, will the world continue to prioritize politics over principles? Can Iran be free? What comes next? This is a turning point in Iranian history. For over 40 years, the Islamic Republic has held on to power through fear and oppression. But that fear is fading. From the streets of Tehran to exile communities across the globe, Iranians are demanding change. The fight is no longer just about one protest. It's about the future of an entire nation. The Crown Prince remains hopeful. Iran's history is not one of submission. It is a history of resilience. The people will reclaim their country, and when they do, the world must be ready to stand with them. The world is watching. The regime is desperate. And the people of Iran? They are closer to freedom than ever before. Final thoughts. A battle far from over. This is more than just a political struggle. It is a battle for the soul of a nation. The youth are rising. The regime is growing weaker. And Iran's future hangs in the balance. So the real question is, will the world finally listen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Should Western countries take stronger action against Iran's regime? Should the Iranian people receive more support in their fight for freedom? Hit like, subscribe, and share if you believe Iran deserves democracy. And let's keep this conversation alive.